need to we need to relieve ourselves, free ourselves from the control that the bankers have over our lives. They've designed this system that we live in so that everything that we do, we have to come to them to borrow money. You say, well, I don't borrow any money. Well, the fuck you don't. How many trillion dollars has the federal government put you in debt? How many? Trillions. And it's expanding quickly. So you borrow money. You want to drive that car you got on the highway, you're going to pay for that highway. Okay. Yeah. So, and you probably had to borrow money to buy the car that you got. And the bankers have it designed where you have to come to them for everything. It keeps the way the system is designed. They keep their elite status in the world, and they keep their income in the world. We can change all of that, and that's what the NEAT Act does. It changes it all. And I'm here mainly for you hip hop kids, you punks, you broken glass kids. I'm here mainly for you because you have really been left behind and you're given the most dangerous and unhealthy jobs that there are, and you're not paid hardly anything. You're not paid enough. Surely you're not paid enough to take a nice vacation every year. You're not. No. Uh, Maybe you're paid enough to survive if you live with others that you really don't want to live with and pay outrageous rents that you really don't want to pay. So we can solve all of that with the NEAT Act. It does solve. Back on. I paused there for a minute and disconnected and, and, and came back on. So uh, check out the NEAT Act. It's HR 2990 of the 112th Congress. It was put into uh, it was put into Congress by Congressman Dennis Kucinich from Cleveland, Ohio, who has a long history of fighting the bankers. When he was 21-year-old mayor of, of Cleveland, he fought the bankers off. They were trying to repossess the power company that the city owned that used that money to finance programs for the poor. He fought them off and he won. And he became really interested in the proposal that we were making to him about the NEAT Act, about that Congress creates money, not the bankers. Now, all the money that there is created by bankers. It's created when loans are made, for loans for cars, loans for houses, loans for financing an F-35, all of that. That puts money into the economy and it's created with debt. And the NEAT Act ends that. NEAT Act does three things: nationalizes the Federal Reserve and puts it into the Treasury, where we think it is already all the time, but it's not. Uh, the NEAT Act is not a part of government. It's owned. The New York Federal Reserve, which is the main Federal Reserve Bank that issues money, uh, finances all the debt. Um, uh, it's owned by the commercial banks, and JP Morgan Chase owns almost half of it. So one guy can decide almost everything about who gets money and how much they get. That's what bankers decide. So we're going to nationalize the Federal Reserve. We're going to buy their stock. We're not going to take it from them like my friend had his oil well taken from him down in Mexico. He said he had a hole in the ground that big that was putting $40,000 a day in his bank account. He said, "Man, that will that will run your sense of reality. Yeah, $40,000 a day for a hole that big." And and so uh, in fact, Mexican government nationalized it, took away from them. Well, we're going to nationalize the Federal Reserve, but we're not going to take their stock away from them. We're going to buy it. We're going to buy it with the new dollars that we create in the NEAT Act. And then the second thing that we're going to do is we're going to end fractional reserve banking. There's a big debate goes on within the monetary reform group. Do we have fractional reserve banking? Do we ever have fractional? I'm trying to see if I'm reconnecting again. Well, uh, we actually never had Federal Reserve Bank, fractional reserve banking because the the reserve was created as soon as the loan was made. That bank might not have the reserve and might need it that night, but it can go to the Federal Reserve and borrow it because the reserve was created and it's there. The Federal Reserve will have the reserve to loan to the bank. So we're going to end fractional reserve banking. And if you've had economics 101 in college, you've seen that fucking chart about how the multiplier, the money multiplier, forget that. And that's a waste of time. So uh, we're going to end fractional reserve banking. We're going to nationalize the Federal Reserve. We're going to end fractional reserve banking. And then what are we going to do? We're going to do what the Constitution says we can do. Congress is got the power to create money, and Congress is going to create money and put it into the economy. It's going to spend it on things like we want, like healthcare, like housing, like transportation, like education. Yeah. Uh, Hell, maybe they'll even spend it on having hip hop events. Yeah, yeah. Congress can spend money on what it wants to spend money on, and this will be money that it creates and doesn't borrow up of anybody. It creates it itself, and it's not, and that's not done now. We kind of think it is that Congress creates money. Where if somebody asks you where money came from, what the hell would you say? Well, tell them all money now is created by the banks when they make a loan. Tell them that, and all of a sudden you will know things that most people don't know, and but that's where money comes from. It's created when a bank makes a loan, a commercial bank, and commercial banks own the Federal Reserve. Okay, it's not part of government. It's not, and yeah, the president appoints the board, and that's a board that sits in Washington D.C. But the activity all takes place down in New York City, a couple of blocks from Zuccotti Park, where Occupy Wall Street uh, uh, did its thing 10 years ago. And, and that's where I learned about uh, the NEAT Act. A little man named Zarlenga came to Zuccotti Park, talked to a friend of all of us, a guy named Harrison, and he'll be he'll be listed in the in the credits to this video. Uh, Harrison Tesora, uh, hell, what's your last name, Harrison? I can't fucking have to deal with an 80-year-old brain. It's a real trick. So anyway, uh, we got the Need Act. It's written. It's ready to go. It's ready for prime time, and there'll be a link to where you can read it in the credits to this video. So uh, start learning about money. But right away, if somebody says, "Where's money created?" you can tell them the commercial banks create all our money. Oh, you can debate about little bits of it that's created by uh, other things in the banking system. But believe me, what we've got to get control of is that banker down there on Main Street, that nice guy that comes to the city council meeting. He controls your life. And that's why he's there at that fucking city council meeting every Tuesday. He's got to know what's going on. He's got to have his finger on the pulse. That's what he's doing. He's got his finger on the pulse to know who's who and what's going on in the community. Well, what's going on in the community now is Occupy the Need Act. Tell your banker friend, we're going to take the power to create money away from him and we're going to give it to us, ourselves. And it needs to be us, okay? It needs to be us hippies, hip hop, hip hoppers, uh, punks, and the left out. Needs to be us. And if it's not, it's going to be the bourgeois, the ones that have got good jobs now, that think that they know what we need. Well, they don't know what we need. We know what we need. Okay. Uh, and if we don't know what we need to figure it out and and know that it can be far beyond what good people at the First Baptist Church think we need. Okay, far beyond that. You know, there was a when this country, this continent first started getting settled. There was Salem, and then there was a community close by called Merrymount. And over at Merrymount, they were having a fucking good time. They were singing and they were dancing and they were fucking and they were, uh, and it didn't matter age, uh, it didn't matter race. Everybody was mixed together. The Indians, and the natives were mixed in with everybody, and everybody was having a good time, and the community was prospering because it was a trading community. And and the Puritans over at Salem didn't like that, and they came over and they wiped that merriment off the face of the map. They stole their maypole and destroyed it. They sent the leaders back to England, and they sent the natives back into the forest, and other people just everywhere. They just, uh, we lost our. That was our first civil war. Salem taking over Merrymount. That was the first civil war. Then we had another civil war back in the '60s with the hippies, and we lost that civil war too when They fought. They shot uh, John Jack Kennedy. They shot his brother. They shot Martin Luther King and killed them all. That killed off the the next civil war that we were in. Not the one that was caused by the abolitionists. And believe me, the abolitionists are not your friends. Okay, You know that John Brown, you know what he did? He took his sons, he had, I think, 5 or 7 sons, something like that. They got on horseback. That's our great hero of abolitionism, okay, uh, is John Brown. And he took his sons, 7 of them. They got on horseback. I think it was Indiana they were in, and they rode to Kansas. They took slave owners out of their houses, and they hacked them to death in front of their families with machetes. That's that's how abolitionism started, the Civil War. Okay, they're not your friends. They are not. But the people at Merrymount were your friends, and the people in the '60s, the hippies, they were your friends. They were trying to show us how to live as human beings. And we can do that now with the NEAT Act because you hippies will have an apartment so you can take a shower. So and you're going to have income. You're going to have a guaranteed annual income. You're going to have money in your pocket. And then you want to do something with your life. You want to create something. You want to do music. You want to do whatever you want to do. You want to be a physicist, an engineer. Uh, you can get an education and do that, and do the things that entertain your mind, and you'll have the ability to do that because it'll all be paid for with money that is created without debt and without taxes. Uh, Investigate the NEAT Act. Okay, hippies, broken glass. We're going to repair your glass. It's going to be a new glass. It's going to be like the one on my iPhone here. It's going to be perfect. That's you. You can be perfect. We're going to get people off your ass. That all are the ones that are on your ass now are trying to make you where you're good for the bank. You're good for the banker, so that you'll make your loan on payments on time, so that you'll be disciplined. Okay, we can. The NEAT Act is a revolution. Okay, I think I'll sign off now. This is William. I'm in Norman, Oklahoma, and you can find me. Just just Google hashtag Occupy the NEAT Act, and you will find me. I'll be on. I'm in on. Uh, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Several places on Facebook. I'm on uh, uh, YouTube, Twitch, uh, Haps. You can find me. All you have to do is Google hashtag Occupy the NEAT Act, and and get to looking and get to exploring, and send me a fucking tweet. And I'm at William George 41 at William George 41 on Twitter. Just use that at symbol and William George 41 and send me a tweet, and I'll get it, and I'll talk to you. And in the meantime, I'm going to be paying attention to our hip hop artist here in Norman, a guy named Sean Reedy, and you'll find a link to him in my tweets, and then I think I'm gonna do what I used to do with a friend here in town he's my age. He's 3 years older than me. Hell, he's fucking 83 years old. No, we used to go to the gay bars. We used to go to Angles up in Oklahoma City. I think I'm gonna start doing that again. I just wanna go and stand and watch the boys dance. Uh, you know, I'd be like the captain in a movie. It's called uh, 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 something of Finland. What the hell? See, I'm dealing with this 80-year-old brain. Tom of Finland. Look up Tom of Finland. It's actually it's a place They have a house in Los Angeles, and it's about Tom of Finland, who created some of the first pornography for homosexuality for gay people, and it's quite a story. And there's a movie, and if you want to watch the movie, send me a tweet, and I'll send you the link to it. I've got it in my Dropbox, and won't cost you a damn thing. And I've got Zarlenga's book in my Dropbox. Won't cost you a damn thing. You can have it. Uh, this is the poor people's campaign. We can do things without money, and, and so and then we're gonna take over creating money. We've got we've got to be there in Congress and make sure the bourgeois doesn't get control of creating the money, because it won't be any fucking different than it is now. They will want to discipline us so that we do the things that they think are needed and that are not needed. Okay, they're needed now because the banker needs it. So uh, get in touch with me, and let's talk. Bye now. I love you, punkers, punks, and hip hops, and broken glass kids. I love you. I always have. And maybe I'll see you up at Angles. Bye now. And hopefully I'll see you at one of Sean Reedy's house parties. Sean is he's a gold mine here in Norman.